If civilization truly began 6,000 years ago, then this should not exist. These pillars were raised nearly 12,000 years ago. Before farming, before cities, before metal. According to the timeline, the people who built this were nomadic hunter-gatherers. So explain how stone was cut with angles so precise. They still challenge replication. These blocks were shaped without steel tools, without modern machinery, at 13,000 feet above sea level. Or explain why 3 stones weighing nearly 800 tons were lifted 25 feet into the air. Even the Romans built on top of this platform, instead of moving it. Then there is a city built on top of a coral reef in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. 90 artificial islands constructed from volcanic stone, with no mortar and no wheels. Beneath the ocean near Japan, stepped formations sit 100 feet below sea level. Geologists call it natural fracturing. Others argue at least part of it was shaped by human hands. In Indonesia, a hill may conceal layered construction, older than recorded history. Mainstream archaeology disputes extreme age claims. Off the coast of India, stone structures lie beneath waters that rose after the last ice age. Some see coincidence, others see fragments of something far older. Across 5 continents, the pattern repeats. Monuments appear. Earlier than expected. Either the timeline is incomplete, or we are. Number 10 begins 12,000 years ago on a hilltop in southeastern Turkey, at a time when humans were supposed to be scattered hunter-gatherers. Something monumental was rising here. These limestone pillars stand up to 18 feet tall and weigh as much as 20 tons. They are covered in carved animals, executed with deliberate and consistent craftsmanship. Radiocarbon dating places construction around 9600 BCE, long before cities or metal tools existed. It predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years and the Egyptian pyramids by nearly 7,000. And yet there is no evidence of permanent housing at the main mound. No hearths, no domestic structures, no trash layers suggesting daily settlement. The mainstream interpretation is that this was a ritual gathering place used by mobile groups. Some researchers argue these gatherings may have encouraged cooperation that later led to agriculture. In that view, religion came first and farming followed. But around 8000 BCE, the entire complex was deliberately buried under tons of soil. This was not gradual collapse. It was intentional backfilling. Whoever built it chose to conceal it. The reason remains unknown. Some suggest it represents the dawn of organized religion. Others speculate it may preserve knowledge inherited from an earlier, more complex society. There is no confirmed evidence of a lost advanced civilization here, but there is undeniable evidence that our timeline for social organization is incomplete. Complex ritual architecture appeared thousands of years earlier than expected, built by people who were not supposed to have the structure to build it. And then they buried it. Why bury it if the first temples were built before farming? What else appeared before its time? Number 9 lies beneath the Pacific Ocean, 100 feet below the surface near Japan. In 1987, divers discovered a massive sandstone formation off the coast of Yonaguni Island. The structure stretches hundreds of feet and rises in what appear to be layered platforms. The edges look strikingly straight. Some sections resemble staircases carved directly into the seabed. Geologists explain that sandstone naturally fractures along straight joint lines. Over time, tectonic shifts and erosion can exaggerate those fractures into sharp terraces. In that view, Yonaguni is dramatic geology shaped by natural forces. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura, however, argues parts of the formation show human modification. He points to flattened surfaces and what he interprets as tool-like markings. Critics counter that similar shapes appear in untouched coastal rock elsewhere in the region. Sea levels were significantly lower during the last ice age. If portions of the structure were shaped by humans, it would have been above water more than 10,000 years ago. That possibility is what keeps the debate alive. The geometry appears deliberate, but nature is capable of producing surprisingly clean lines. No confirmed artifacts have been recovered directly from the formation. There are no inscriptions, no tools, no clear construction debris, only stone, symmetry, and interpretation. One explanation requires only geology. The other requires early humans shaping what nature began. At present, the majority of geological consensus supports a natural origin, but the debate has not fully disappeared. If even partially modified, who did it? And if rising seas have hidden evidence before, how many other stories lie underwater? Number 8 sits hidden in the highlands of West Java, Indonesia. At first glance, it appears to be a hill crowned with scattered basalt columns. But those stones are deliberately arranged into terraced platforms. Archaeological study confirms the surface layers date to roughly the first millennium BCE and earlier. That places confirmed human activity here more than 2,000 years ago. But in the early 2010s, subsurface scans suggested something more complex beneath the hill. Researchers proposed that deeper layers might represent an ancient step pyramid buried underground. One study claimed that some layers could date back more than 10,000 years. That paper was later retracted after significant criticism from the academic community. Critics argued that the deep samples likely reflected natural volcanic deposits rather than human construction. In their view, Gunung Padang is a natural volcanic hill modified at the surface by later builders. Supporters of the deeper structure theory maintain that the geometry beneath the surface deserves further investigation. They argue that radar patterns show cavities and layered construction inconsistent with pure geology. At present, there is no confirmed evidence of a 20,000-year-old pyramid here. But there is clear evidence that humans shaped this hill into a significant ceremonial site. The unresolved question is how deep intentional construction truly goes. If deeper chambers exist, what's inside? Is Gunung Padang a layered monument built over centuries, or a natural hill reshaped by ritual hands? For now, the deeper claims remain unproven. And if rising seas erased coastal civilizations elsewhere, what stories might still lie beneath the water? Next, we dive into Dwarka. Number 7 begins on the western coast of India, where legend and archaeology intersect. For centuries, ancient texts described a magnificent city, swallowed by the sea. The Mahabharata speaks of Dwarka, a fortified coastal city associated with the deity Krishna. In the early 2000s, marine surveys off this coast identified submerged structural remains. Sonar scans revealed stone alignments. Beneath approximately 100 feet of water, archaeological teams recovered artifacts, including pottery fragments and worked stone. These finds confirm that human activity once existed in areas now underwater. After the last ice age, global sea levels rose dramatically, flooding ancient coastal settlements worldwide. What is now seabed was once habitable land. The anomaly lies in the apparent geometry. of some submerged formations. Supporters note that the offshore location loosely aligns with textual descriptions. Skeptics argue that many of the formations resemble natural beach rock shaped by sediment cementation. Dating of specific structural features remains debated within the academic community. Some artifacts suggest occupation in the 2nd millennium BC, but that does not confirm the entire submerged layout represents a single ancient city. The question is not whether ancient settlements existed here. The question is whether this is the Dwarka, described in epic tradition. Ancient texts often preserve cultural memory, but mythology can also amplify geography into legend. In this case, archaeology confirms submerged structures. It does not yet confirm a mythic golden city. Is this a memory of myth or coincidence shaped by rising seas? If oceans have hidden cities before, then the next mystery may lie not in text, but in stone. Number 6 rises more than 12,000 feet above sea level in the Bolivian Andes. Puma Punku forms part of the Tiwanaku ceremonial complex, dated by mainstream archaeology to roughly 500 to 1000 CE. These stones are enormous, some weighing over 100 tons, but it is not their size that sparks debate. It is the precision of the cuts. Andesite blocks feature sharply defined edges and clean internal drill holes. Surfaces appear remarkably flat and geometrically consistent. Andesite is a hard volcanic stone, far more resistant than limestone. Experimental archaeology demonstrates that stone tools, combined with abrasive sand, can cut and polish andesite. It is slow, labor-intensive, and requires extraordinary patience. There is no evidence of lost laser technology or advanced machinery here. Microscopic analysis reveals shaping consistent with repetitive abrasion. The engineering challenge lies in the standardization of blocks. Each component appears designed to interlock within a modular architectural plan. The nearest quarry for some stones lies miles away across uneven terrain. Transport would have required coordinated labor and sophisticated planning. At this elevation, logistics alone become monumental. The anomaly is not impossibility. It is the level of precision achieved without modern mechanization. The site also shows signs of incomplete construction, suggesting either interruption, collapse, or abandonment. Puma Punku does not require lost super technology. It requires extraordinary skill, time, and organization. The real mystery is not lasers or aliens. It is how a society at this altitude coordinated such precision and scale. And if precision alone feels impressive, wait until the stones weigh 800 tons. Cut to Baalbek. Number 5 stands in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, where Rome built one of its greatest temples. The Romans constructed a massive temple here beginning in the 1st century BCE. But beneath that temple lies something even more staggering. 3 limestone blocks, each weighing roughly 800 tons, form part of the foundation wall. These stones measure more than 60 feet long and sit over 25 feet above ground level. They are fitted together with joints so tight that even a blade struggles to slip between them. In a nearby quarry rests an even larger, unfinished stone, estimated at more than 1,000 tons. That block was partially cut but never transported. Roman engineers were masters of cranes, pulleys, and organized labor. They routinely moved stones weighing tens of tons. But 800 tons is a different category entirely. Some engineers argue that massive labor forces using sledges, rollers, and earth ramps could have achieved it. The terrain between quarry and platform is not flat, making the logistics extraordinary. The Roman temple clearly sits atop this megalithic base. The construction style of the upper temple differs from the massive lower blocks. This has led some researchers to debate whether parts of the foundation predate Roman occupation. Mainstream archaeology generally attributes the platform to Roman-era construction. Regardless of authorship, the scale alone remains astonishing. The anomaly is not mystery technology. It is the decision to use stones this massive at all. Why build at a scale that exceeds practical necessity? Was it pure capability, or ritual exaggeration intended to overwhelm the human mind? The engineering may be explainable, but the impulse to build beyond necessity appears again and again across continents. Number 4 lies in the western Pacific, on the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia. Here, more than 90 artificial islets were constructed directly on top of a coral reef. The walls are built from basalt columns, stacked log-style, without mortar. Canals separate the islets, forming a maze-like city, rising from shallow water. Radiocarbon dating places major construction between the 12th and 17th centuries CE. The site is associated with the Sodelur dynasty, which ruled Pohnpei for centuries. Some stones weigh several tons and were transported from distant volcanic outcrops. One proposed method suggests floating the basalt on rafts during high tide before levering it into place. The challenge was not only moving the stone, but building stable foundations atop coral reef. Builders filled gaps with coral rubble to create platforms capable of supporting massive walls. The anomaly is not its age. It is the logistics of constructing a stone city in such a remote environment. No metal tools were available for shaping these volcanic columns. Yet the walls remain standing centuries later, despite storms and tidal forces. Local oral traditions describe powerful figures, village-style, who built the city using supernatural means. Those stories likely preserve cultural memory village-style, rather than literal events. There is no confirmed evidence that Nan Madol predates its medieval construction period. But its scale and design demonstrate village-style, a highly organized maritime society. Building in stone on land is difficult. Building in stone on water multiplies that difficulty. The real mystery is not lost antiquity. It is how a relatively small island society mobilized the labor and engineering required. And if cities can rise from reefs, they can also sink beneath rising seas. Number 3 lies just beneath the shallow waters of the Bahamas. In 1968, divers identified a long formation of large stone slabs resting about 18 feet below the surface. The alignment stretches in a distinct J-shaped curve for nearly half a mile. The blocks appear rectangular and unusually uniform at first glance. To some observers, it resembles a submerged road or harbor wall. However, the majority of geologists identify it as beach rock. Beach rock forms when sand and shell fragments cement together in shallow coastal environments. As it hardens, it can fracture along straight lines, producing block-like shapes. In that interpretation, Bimini Road is striking geology rather than ancient engineering. Some researchers argue that smaller stones beneath larger slabs resemble leveling supports. Geologists counter that such placements can occur naturally through erosion and shifting currents. Geologists counter that such placements can occur naturally through erosion and shifting currents. No confirmed artifacts, inscriptions, or construction debris have been recovered from the formation. No confirmed artifacts, inscriptions, or construction debris have been recovered from the formation. The site became famous partly because of speculation linking it to Atlantis. The site became famous partly because of speculation linking it to Atlantis. But there is no archaeological evidence tying it to a lost, advanced civilization. But there is no archaeological evidence tying it to a lost, advanced civilization. During the last ice age, this region was exposed land before rising seas reshaped the coastline. During the last ice age, this region was exposed land before rising seas reshaped the coastline. That fact keeps curiosity alive. That fact keeps curiosity alive. The anomaly is visual geometry. The anomaly is visual geometry. The explanation, according to most geologists, is natural formation. The explanation, according to most geologists, is natural formation. At present, the overwhelming scientific consensus supports a geological origin. At present, the overwhelming scientific consensus supports a geological origin. But the human mind is wired to see patterns. But the human mind is wired to see patterns. And sometimes, the mystery lies not in the stone, but in how we interpret it. And sometimes, the mystery lies not in the stone, but in how we interpret it. Number 2 stands quietly in the forested foothills. Between the Black and Caspian Seas, thousands of stone chambers known as dolmens are scattered across this mountainous region. More than 3,000 have been documented across southern Russia and Abkhazia. Each structure consists of massive slabs forming a small enclosed chamber. Most feature a precisely carved circular entrance hole centered in the front slab. In many cases, a stone plug was shaped to seal that opening. Radiocarbon dating of materials found inside places the majority between 3000 and 2000 BCE. That situates them firmly within the Bronze Age. Similar stone burial chambers appear in Western Europe and parts of Asia. The anomaly lies in the consistency of those circular openings. They are strikingly uniform across structures separated by miles of terrain. Carving such precision into hard stone would have required planning and specialized tools. The specific culture responsible is not fully identified by name. Archaeologists generally interpret them as burial or ritual structures. Some studies suggest the chambers possess unusual acoustic resonance. That detail has fueled speculation about alternative ceremonial functions. Occasionally, fringe researchers propose dates as old as 25,000 years. Those claims are not supported by mainstream radiocarbon evidence. What remains undeniable is the craftsmanship. Thousands of stone chambers built with remarkable consistency. The mystery here is not impossible. Antiquity. It is how an organized Bronze Age culture coordinated construction across such a vast landscape. And if circles carved in stone echo across continents, the final site pushes that pattern even further. Cut to Adam's calendar. Number 1 brings us to the hills of Mpumalanga, South Africa. Here stands a circular arrangement of weathered stones overlooking open valleys. The site is often referred to as Adam's calendar. It is part of a broader network of stone ruins scattered across the region. Thousands of circular stone enclosures have been documented across Mpumalanga. Some researchers claim that certain stones align with solstices and cardinal directions. These alignment claims suggest intentional astronomical observation. More dramatic claims propose that the site could be 75,000 years old. There is no academic support for that extreme age. No peer-reviewed radiocarbon evidence confirms construction anywhere near that time frame. The age of this specific circle remains debated, but weathering alone cannot determine prehistoric antiquity with precision. The true anomaly lies in the scale of regional stone structures. They stretch across valleys and ridgelines in patterns still being studied. Whether ceremonial, agricultural, or defensive, their purpose is not fully resolved. The alignment claims remain controversial. Some researchers argue the positioning is intentional. Others suggest coincidence shaped by terrain and erosion. What is confirmed is that southern Africa contains one of the densest concentrations of ancient stone ruins on Earth. These structures demonstrate organized construction. They do not confirm an Ice Age supercivilization. The mystery here is not extreme age. It is how much of human regional history remains undocumented. Across continents and cultures, stones rise from forests, deserts, reefs, and seabeds. Across continents and cultures, stones rise from forests, deserts, reefs, and seabeds. Across continents and cultures, stones rise from forests, deserts, reefs, and seabeds. Across continents and cultures, stones rise from forests, deserts, reefs, and seabeds. Across continents and cultures, stones rise from forests, deserts, reefs, and seabeds. Some mysteries are geological, some mysteries are archaeological. All remind us that the human story is more complex than a straight line, from primitive to advanced. All remind us that the human story is more complex than a straight line from primitive to advanced. All remind us that the human story is more complex than a straight line from primitive to advanced. All remind us that the human story is more complex than a straight line from primitive to advanced. If you've made it this far, you're not here for fantasy. You're here for the evidence. Something about these places doesn't sit comfortably inside the standard timeline. If you value evidence over hype and curiosity over conspiracy, subscribe now. Like this video so it reaches people who still think history is settled. What these sites prove isn't lost super technology. It proves humans were far more capable, far earlier. Monumental construction did not begin with the pyramids. Entire chapters lie beneath the water. The real mystery isn't Atlantis. It's how much of our story is still buried underwater. History is not a straight line. It is a fragmented record of survival. Every monument is proof of coordination, planning, belief, and imagination. Not of forgotten lasers, but of minds that were never as primitive as we once believed. Every stone tells a story. The story continues. Stay curious. Subscribe for more.